In the late 1960s, life was pretty much unregulated. The rules were just different back then, and we wouldn't have it any other way. But the things that seemed completely normal have over time become outlawed. So let's take a look back at all the things we did back in 1968 that are now illegal. Back in 1968, turning 18 meant you could vote, get drafted, and in most states, walk into a bar and order a drink. It certainly wasn't unusual to see high school seniors celebrating their birthday with a legal beer. In some places, even younger teens could drink beer or wine legally, while hard liquor required you to be 21. Drunk driving laws weren't strictly enforced, and as long as you could walk a straight line, most officers let you off with a warning. It wasn't until the 1980s that the legal age was raised to 21, mostly because the federal government threatened to cut highway funding for states that didn't comply. If you grew up in the 1960s or 1970s, you probably rode in the back of a pickup truck at least once. Whether you were driving home from a baseball game or just cruising down the highway with the wind in your face, it was a part of normal life. No one worried about seatbelts, so the truck bed was often full of kids. Today, most states have banned the practice, especially at speeds over 25 miles per hour. But for those who remember, it was just another great thing to love about the 1960s. It might sound unbelievable now, but in 1968, it wasn't strange for a high school student to bring a rifle to school. In more rural areas, hunting was a way of life, and plenty of teenagers kept shotguns in their trucks so they could go straight to the woods after class. Some schools even had rifle clubs, where students practiced marksmanship under a teacher's supervision. A gun rack in a truck window wasn't a reason to panic. SWAT teams were never called, and teachers didn't think twice about it. Times have certainly changed, but back then, it was just another part of growing up. Recollection Road is proud to partner with Legacy Box. If you've considered preserving your family's memories, then watch until the end of this video to see how Legacy Box can help you do it. In 1968, chemistry sets weren't just educational, they were also adventurous. Kids could mix real chemicals, creating explosions, toxic fumes, and even small fires right in their bedrooms. Many sets included potassium nitrate for making gunpowder, and even uranium ore for testing radiation. Mercury was also a common ingredient, and plenty of kids played with the liquid metal, rolling it around in their hands without a second thought. Parents saw these kits as a way to inspire future scientists, but over time, the risk of burns or poisoning became too great, so the dangerous chemicals were removed completely, and with that, their popularity faded. Fireworks today are tame compared to what kids had in the 1960s. Cherry bombs, M80s, and silver salutes were basically mini explosives that could take out a mailbox or blow a hole in a trash can. It wasn't just about lighting them, it was about the challenge of getting away before the blast. Some kids even used them for fishing, tossing them in the water to stun fish. Parents warned about losing fingers, but that didn't stop kids from lighting another fuse. Eventually, the government banned these high-powered fireworks, but anyone who grew up with them remembers the sheer thrill and occasional terror of setting them off. Believe it or not, there was a time when cracking open a beer while driving wasn't illegal in many states. Some people kept a cooler in the passenger seat for long road trips, and drive-through liquor stores were a common sight. Police didn't pull drivers over unless they were obviously drunk, and as long as you could handle your vehicle, having an open container wasn't a big deal. It wasn't until the 1980s that attitudes changed. Today, even holding a beer behind the wheel will get you in serious trouble, but back then, it wasn't unusual. Kids in the 60s and 70s had some wild toys, and one of the strangest was Whammo's super elastic bubble plastic. It came in a tube, and you'd squeeze out a blob, stick it on a straw, and blow it into a big, colorful plastic balloon. The problem, the stuff was packed with toxic fumes, and you could feel it the second you opened the tube. Some kids would get lightheaded from playing with it. Although it was fun, most of us knew it probably wasn't safe, so eventually it disappeared from store shelves. But if you ever played with it, you'll never forget that strong chemical smell. Before the modern movie rating system, films in 1968 had far fewer restrictions on content, and what audiences saw often depended on the theater's discretion. Hollywood still followed the remnants of the old Hays Code, but by the late 1960s, filmmakers were pushing boundaries with violence, language, and adult themes. Movies like Bonnie and Clyde and The Wild Bunch shocked viewers with their graphic shootouts, while Rosemary's Baby delivered psychological horror that would have been unthinkable a decade earlier. Without clear ratings, parents had no real way of knowing if a film was suitable for kids, and many young audiences ended up watching movies that would easily be rated R today. Drop-side cribs were once a must-have for parents. The design let one side slide down, making it easy to pick up a sleeping baby without waking them. For decades, these cribs were standard in homes, hospitals, and daycare centers. But over time, it became clear they weren't as safe as people thought. The sliding mechanism could fail, leading to dangerous gaps where babies got trapped. After multiple tragic accidents, they were finally banned in 2011. If you were a kid in the 60s, you probably remember mosquito trucks rolling through your neighborhoods, spraying thick clouds of DDT. And if you were like most kids, you didn't run away. You ran into the fog, laughing and playing as it filled the air. No one thought about the long-term effects back then, even though the smell alone should have been a warning. It wasn't until scientists linked DDT to cancer that it was finally banned. Today, the idea of kids chasing pesticide trucks seems crazy, but back then, it was just another summer night. There was something special about getting a cold soda from a vending machine in the 1960s. The bottles were made of thick glass, and you had to use the built-in opener to pop the cap. If you returned the empty, you got a deposit back, something that encouraged kids to collect bottles to make a little spending money. But glass breaks, and plenty of people learn that the hard way when pulling a heavy glass bottle from the vending machine, making it a liability for soda companies. Over time, vending machines switched completely over to plastic bottles and aluminum cans for safety's sake. But the switch also saved them money because plastic was cheaper to recycle and manufacture. Before bright orange tips and neon-colored plastic, toy guns looked real, sometimes too real. Cap guns popped like real gunfire, so kids loved to play cops and robbers or cowboys and Indians in the street, running around with guns that today would send a SWAT team rushing in. But back then, no one batted an eye, and police rarely overreacted. But as times changed and real-life incidents blurred the lines between toys and weapons, realistic toys were heavily restricted. Today, it's hard to imagine a kid casually carrying one into a store, but in the 1960s, it was just another afternoon of play. Recollection Road loves to recommend Legacy Box because we both believe in preserving the past. If you have a cluttered closet with cherished home videos and photos that rarely see the light of day, then you need to visit legacybox.com/recollection. These irreplaceable heirlooms are rapidly fading away, and they deserve to be digitized and shared with family and friends. And right now, Legacy Box is offering you $9 tape transfers. The process is simple. Send in your Legacy Box filled with old VHS tapes, camcorder tapes, and pictures. Their team will professionally digitize everything by hand, right here in the USA. You'll get the originals returned to you, along with organized digital copies. I love Legacy Box because it makes all my favorite memories available anytime. I can post them on social media or pull up a slideshow on my TV, which keeps special family moments alive. Visit legacybox.com/recollection to shop their $9 tape sale. That's legacybox.com/recollection to unlock this incredible offer. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything, and make sure to check the description of this video for links to pick up a t-shirt and sign up for the newsletter. Thank you to our loyal Patreon supporters listed here. Visit patreon.com/recollectionroad to join the club.